For that, we'll cross now to our correspondent in Kyiv, Gulliver Cragg. Hi, Gulliver. So before we get to the situation on the ground, what has the reaction been in Ukraine itself to Putin's expected annexation speech this Friday?
Well, of course, the reaction is one of anger, astonishment, and absolute rejection of these illegal annexations. But there's also a degree of anxiety. When you talk to ordinary people in Kyiv and the suburbs, clearly these threats of a nuclear attack if Russian sovereign territory is under attack from Ukraine, which it will be in the eyes of the Kremlin once the Kremlin has declared parts of Ukraine to be Russian sovereign territory, are not going unnoticed. People have been buying iodine in the chemists. Many of them have been having difficulty with getting enough stock in of iodine, which is supposed to be a pill that you take to protect against radiation. So people are taking these threats seriously and in private feeling a bit jittery. But the official, and of course, Volodymyr Zelensky has also called a special meeting of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council for this afternoon. So it's clear that the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian government are taking seriously the threat of military escalation of some kind as well. But officially, the government's position is one of absolute defiance and talking about ignoring these referendums, ignoring these annexations because they are absolutely illegal and will not be recognized by any of Ukraine's international partners. Actually, what Volodymyr Zelensky has been doing more and more frequently lately is making video addresses in Russian in which he addresses the Russian people, calling on them also to not recognize these annexations, to not believe what the Kremlin is telling them, and to resist mobilization. The latest video was actually addressed to what Volodymyr Zelensky refers to as the indigenous peoples of Russia. He means minorities, particularly in the Caucasus and in Siberia. In the Caucasus, Dagestanis, for example, have been protesting in quite large numbers against mobilizations, and that's garnered a lot of attention in Ukraine. And Volodymyr Zelensky is calling on them to carry on. He recorded this video address in front of a memorial to the Imam Shamil, who was a hero of Muslim resistance to the Russian Empire in the 19th century. So he's clearly trying to push those referential buttons and trying to get more and more of the peoples of Russia to resist Vladimir Putin's war.
And Gulliver, in the meantime, fighting still continues, of course, across Ukraine. What is the latest on the ground?
Well, Rob Parsons was just talking about this battle for Liman. Clearly, the Ukrainians would love to manage to finish that off today and get these Russians who are reportedly trapped in Liman. But I think it's important to stress that so far this news is unconfirmed. The Ukrainian armed forces haven't confirmed this. Various sources do suggest that that is what's happening and that this very strategic town in the north of Donetsk region may soon fall, with a large number of Russian prisoners being taken and Russian equipment being taken by the Ukrainians. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Meanwhile, there is confirmed information that the Ukrainian armed forces are in full control of the town of Kupiansk, which is another strategic railway junction in the north of Kharkiv region, northeast of Kharkiv region. Journalists from AFP were there yesterday and confirmed that the Ukrainians have now taken full control of that town, including the east bank of the Oskil River. But the Russians further afield have been carrying out more long-range artillery strikes which have hit civilians and civilian infrastructure in the last 24 hours in the cities of Dnipro, Zaporizhia and Mykolaiv, and in all of those places there are dead and wounded among the civilians.
All right, Gulliver Cragg, thank you very much indeed for that reporting.